Good day, everyone. I am Marilyn Isatam, a BS Ed English student. Today, I will be reporting about approaches to curriculum designing. So, you have already been familiarized with the preliminaries of making your design through lesson plan components. Today, we will further enrich your knowledge by looking into how various curricularists approach curriculum design. We will also see examples of how these designs are applied in schools and classrooms. So here is our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to identify the different curriculum designs and approaches to curriculum designing, evaluate the importance of at least two approaches to curriculum designing through a role play, and value the application of different curriculum approaches in the school setting by participating in a short self-reflection activity. So now, what is curriculum designing? Curriculum designing is the purposeful and systematic process of planning and organizing learning experiences, content, and instructional strategies to achieve specific educational goals. It ensures that what is taught aligns with learners' needs, societal demands, and the intended outcomes of education. So there are types of curriculum design models. First is subject-centered design. So this is a curriculum design that focuses on the content of the curriculum. The subject-centered design corresponds mostly to the textbook because textbooks are usually written based on the specific subject per course. Henry Morrison and Harris are the few curricularists who firmly believe in this design. Here are examples of subject-centered design. First, subject design. The oldest and so far the most familiar design for teachers, parents, and other laymen. According to the advocates, subject design has an advantage because it is easy to deliver. However, the drawback of this design is that sometimes learning is so compartmentalized. It stresses so much the content and forgets about students' natural tendencies, interests, and experiences. Second is discipline design. So this curriculum design model is related to the subject design. However, while subject design centers only on the cluster of content, discipline design focuses on academic disciplines. For example, students in history should learn the subject matter like historians. Next is correlation design, coming from a core. Correlated curriculum design links separate subject designs in order to reduce fragmentation. Subjects are related to one another and still maintain their identity. For example, English literature and social studies correlate well in the elementary level. Last is broad field design or interdisciplinary. Broad field design or interdisciplinary is a variation or the subject-centered design. This design was made to cure the compartmentalization of the separate subjects and integrate the contents that are related to one another. For example, geography, economics, and history are fused into one subject called social studies. It is sometimes called holistic curriculum. Second example of curriculum model design is learner-centered design. It upholds progressivism. The learner is the center of the educative process. This emphasis is very strong in the elementary level. However, more concern has been placed on the secondary and even in the tertiary levels. So here are some examples of curriculum design which are learner-centered. First is child-centered design. This design is often attributed to the influence of John Dewey, Rousseau, Pistalozzi, and Froebel. This curriculum design is anchored on the needs and interests of the child. Second is experience-centered design. This design is similar to the child-centered design. Although the focus remains to be the child, experience-centered design believes that the interests and needs of learners cannot be pre-planned. The learners are empowered to shape their own learning from different opportunities given by the teacher's instructions or activities. Next is humanistic design. The key influence in this curriculum design is Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. In this design, it considers the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains to be interconnected and must be addressed in the curriculum. So third example of model design is problem-centered design. It draws on social problems, needs, interests, and abilities of the learners. Various problems are given emphasis. There are those that center on life situations. In this curriculum, content cuts across subject boundaries and must be based on the needs, concerns, and abilities of the students. So, examples of problem centered designs: first is life situation design. Uses the past and the present experiences of learners as a means to analyze the basic areas of living. The connection of subject matter to real situation increases the relevance of the curriculum. Next is core problem design is another example of problem-centered design. It centers on general education and the problems are based on the common human activities. The central focus of the core design includes common needs, problems, and concerns of the learners. It was popularized by Fonse and Bossing in 1959. It presented ways on how to proceed using core design of a curriculum. So now let's proceed to approaches to curriculum design models. So after writing a curriculum based on the specific design, let us see how a teacher will approach this. We will find out the utilization of the example design. So these are the approaches of curriculum designing. First is child or learner-centered approach. This approach to curriculum design is based on the underlying philosophy that the child or the learner is the center of the educational process. It means that the curriculum is constructed based on the needs, interests, purposes, and abilities of the learners. The curriculum is also built upon the learner's knowledge, skills, previous learnings, and potential. Second is the subject centered approach. Subject matter serving as the main focus and content for learning, with an emphasis on acquiring knowledge for its own sake rather than necessarily its immediate connection to life. Last is a problem centered approach that organizes learning and curriculum around real world problems and complex issues that students need to solve, rather than focusing solely on traditional subjects or content. This inquiry based constructivist method uses problems to develop students' conceptual understanding, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and self directed learning skills, promoting active, relevant, and lifelong learning. In summary, these approaches guide how teachers design and implement the curriculum. While the subject centered approach emphasizes content mastery, the learner centered approach prioritizes the needs and development of the learner, and the problem centered approach connects learning to real life issues. Understanding these approaches helps teachers create meaningful, engaging, and effective learning experiences for their students. Here are the resources of my report. Thank you and God bless us all.